This week on the Rental Report Review. What Are You Hungry For? Raw, 2016. One Cannot Live Without Love. Under the Volcano, 1984. As American as Apple Pie. TheParallax View, 1974. The father of the spaghetti western returns again with his most masterful work yet, Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. The most unusual triangle in the history of love. A boy, a girl, and a computer. Electric Dreams, 1984. I rarely want to speak ill of a film, but in the interest of cutting some kayfabe promos, Raw is right. This was undercooked for me, and I don't mind a bloody, vague film, but I don't get it. I mean, I get it. Terror, coming of age, conforming to a hypocritical society, careening generational trauma, humanity's inhumanity to humanity and nature. It's just too much. An inch deep and a mile wide would perhaps be a compliment. Nothing really connects. It's disjointed in character, narrative metaphors, thesis. This is millennial solipsistic cinema at its most anti-interesting. It feels like a collection of notions and vibes that no one bothered to interrogate or integrate. A tale of a young vegetarian woman entering a veterinarian school from a long line of legendary vets is soaked in blood and consumes some offal through a series of hazing rituals and is transformed into a cannibalistic sex fiend who does little of either. And by the end is totally narratively usurped in a sequence that is supposed to be surprising, meaningful, metaphorical, transgressive. I give Raw 1.5 stars. I wish I could say it's at least beautiful, but it is so tepid in its 2010s international elevated genre art house flatness that it's also aesthetically forgettable. The actors are fine, but their characters seem to suffer amnesia on a scene-by-scene basis. The gore is pretty okay, but with so much happening off-camera, I'm not sure what the point of it is. There are ideas here, and I am deeply interested in giving Titan a shot. Maybe just not this one again. This is one of the most haunted movies I've ever seen. There is no shortage of on the eve of World War II films, even in 38, 39. Most every film was permeated with the sulfurous specter of hell. I live a modest, cushy life in Los Angeles, and yet Huston's adaptation of a self-medicating, shell-shocked romantic hiding out in Mexico reached me in ways I can't fully articulate. Huston has made the unrelatable anxiety of rapidly impending doom personal, universal. I give Under the Volcano 4 stars. Albert Finney as John Huston, a self-destructive post-hero, slurs his way through one of the most transcendent drunken performances I have ever seen. It's somehow baldly naturalistic and Shakespearean at the same time. I don't know how he and Huston tuned the arc of this performance. I mean, I guess they're masters is what they are. And it's ultimately sold and delivered by Jacqueline Bisset. The moment she steps into frame, I said, oh shit, this guy's fucked. Like Finney's Jeffrey, I wanted her close and gone at the same time. She's so clearly someone worth sacrificing everything for, and someone impossible to escape or live up to. And she plays that stifled self-awareness on a razor's edge. If there's anything that didn't totally work for me, for all of its visual metaphor and movement, it feels more like a play than a movie. Sometimes because of the semi-proscenium three-handed blocking, but mostly because of the remember wins and emotionally tortured monologues, which are great, but distinctly theatrical, if not, well, British. Mexico is gorgeous. Is there any other place on Earth where so many souls walk amongst the living? This is one of the most peculiar films I've ever seen. I'm not even entirely sure it's a film or a complete film. What it definitely is a cinematic tone poem of conspiracy and paranoia. A dark corridor detective story where blind corners reveal ever more blind corners, where a trembling flashlight never quite reaches far enough.
Carol, just fine, thank you. Welcome to our city.
It's tense, it's thrilling, intelligent, perpetually enigmatic. A narrative about a secret assassination recruitment scheme that wriggles out from being a generic high-concept thriller that would later dominate the 80s and 90s.
Conspiracy.
These people were killed, and whoever killed them is going to try to kill me.
It teases at a real underworld of our shadow government, but never names names or reveals the full scope of the operation because, well, a mere 2 years after Watergate and 3 years before the revelations of the House Select Committee hearings on assassinations, few of the pieces were actually known, despite being speculated since November 22nd, 1963.
My life is in danger just being here.
I do not think we Americans have totally grappled with the events of the late 20th century. Many of us have in pockets, but few have mapped the entire grand narrative of the rulers of the realm. This one gets close, but never quite fully there.
Tests suggest that you have remarkable talents.
In a risk situation, I believe you'll go right down the line.
I give the Parallax View 3.75 stars. Like I hinted, I don't think this entirely sticks the landing, but it is a gorgeous sight to behold, in no small part thanks to cinematographer Gordon Willis, probably one of my top 5 to ever do it, right up there with Jordan Cronenweth. But yeah, I think it needed to peel the narrative onion a little deeper. Warren Beatty, somehow one of the most handsome and unassuming investigative reporters ever, sells his charm and unfocused gaze as a plausible Woodward and Bernstein rolled into one, following the thread to the heart of the labyrinth, the resolution of the mystery collecting in his head like a gathering sneeze or exclamation just on the tip of his tongue, but that never feels release. If you need resolution, this may not be for you, but if you like tying red strings to pins on a corkboard, this is probably your jam. I never liked or fully understood American Westerns until I read Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian maybe 10 years ago. They've always felt mythically self-aggrandizing to the point of cartoonishness and or the erasure of, the people who were here first. I'm not a hi-ho silver guy, and the Duke held no real magnetism for me. I also just hate being grimy. The High Plains desert is hot and disgusting. No thank you. I also, full confession, didn't immediately love Sergio Leone. I saw and loved Yojimbo and a good chunk of Kurosawa well before I ever dipped into the shot-for-shot homage of A Fistful of Dollars. Actually, pretty sure I said, fuck that guy, fuck that movie, and fuck that subgenre. I mean, never totally believing it. I mean, I suspected that there were gems out there that would finally make me understand and embrace the genre. Well, here it is. From the opening, mostly silent sequence, I was hooked, lined, and sinkered. Leone moves with absolute confidence through the frontier monuments. His slow, intentional pace trusts the audience to trust him as he closes the noose of tension around our throats. I mean, yeah, it's a sight to behold. The terrain, the eyes, the gleaming pistols, in some of the most stacked, widest widescreen cinema you've ever seen. But Leone's equally stacked writer's room, Donati, Knox, Bertolucci, Argento, hits on at least 3 different levels. The personal, the mythos of the genre, and the larger power structures of railway tycoons carving up a raw nation for their industry to come.
Charles Bronson and Jason Robards.
I give Once Upon a Time in the West 4.5 stars. It's impossible to pick any one person or thing to highlight, but Charles fucking Bronson, holy shit. In an all-star cast, he manages to be a captivating center of gravity. Maybe the best Fonda I've ever seen? Even the all-too-brief cameo of Woody Strode is nothing short of Titanic. This has me wanting to revisit the Dollars trilogy and even more eager to get on to Once Upon a Time in America. Hell, this is propelling me to take the full plunge into Ford. Sometimes you just need an outsider to put the whole thing into perspective. Let's be real. Most computer movies blow. Why the hell is that? Well, no one, at least no one in Hollywood, gets computers. To be fair, most normies don't, but especially for some reason, screenwriters definitely don't.
Can I help you?
Centralized or on the periphery, they're deployed as a Pandora's Deus Ex Machina. It's a narrative crutch capable of anything and everything, and also conveniently forgets how to operate as a computer when conveniently inconvenient. I think some of the best computer movies are actually best bounded by fables or mythic structure. Pygmalion, The Sphinx, or Gollum. Electric Dreams, while it doesn't totally work, is enough of a techno-Cyrano with a whole lot of heart and 80s romantic earnestness to hack my mainframe and crash override my suspension of disbelief, to fall in love with this somehow forgotten prelude to a lot of silicon-based classics. I mean, this was 1984, the same year the first Mac was released, just down the road in Cupertino. And right out of the gate, well, the year after War Games, it gets so much right about how we use our machines to craft identity, connect and disconnect with others. I mean, hell, there's a 44-second conversation that distills the exact same conversation we're still having about artificial intelligence and art 40 years later.
You had this car long?
No, it's my third. They break down a lot.
Should I turn this down?
No, it's broken too.
Madeline, have you ever heard of artificial intelligence?
What do you mean?
Oh, like computers that talk?
Yeah, my mom has one.
She does?
It's a clock, it tells her the time.
Oh, but that's not like talking.
It's when it's talking, a sign of thinking.
Yeah, but what about a machine that can create art, or write poetry, or compose music? What about that?
What's wrong with artists?
I give Electric Dreams 3.5 stars. Sure, the central conceit leaves me wanting more. On paper, I don't fully buy the characters connecting. It's underdeveloped in a bit of service to show off and explain what the hell computers are. But I mean, it all checks out. Virginia Madsen, good God. She takes what could have been a dimensionless object of desire and gives Madeline more life with a quick glance or a sigh than just about anyone else I can think of in this role opposite a lovable weirdo like Lenny Von Dolen. This has to be a founding text in David Fincher's development. Do I need to see the rest of Steve Barron's work? I loved Turtles and Coneheads as a kid. Shout out cinematographer Alex Thompson, a Fincher connection, and those computer graphics. Wow. Great San Francisco movie. This week, my weekly pick of the week is... I can tell you what it isn't. It isn't Raw. And maybe it might be a basic pick, but Once Upon a Time in the West is undeniable in every dimension. It's one of the few westerns I love without qualification. This week's bonus feature is... this is a tough one. But I can tell you what it ain't. It ain't Raw. But it also ain't Parallax. And it ain't Under the Volcano. It doesn't make sense, but it's Electric Dreams. It's a charming weirdo film that couldn't get much weirder or charminger. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram and X to see what movies I'm renting next, and pretty much everything is on my letterbox. I am going to go watch some more movies. I hope you do too. Video well.